The cannabis plant is being pulled from the unregulated wild and sealed inside the strict pharmaceutical supply chain. On April 22, 2026, the Department of Justice moved specific marijuana products from Schedule 1 to Schedule 3 of the Controlled Substances Act. This follows a December 2025 executive order that prioritized the reclassification of the plant for medical research and prescription use. This order applies only to a narrow subset of the industry. Recreational marijuana remains a Schedule 1 controlled substance under federal law. For medical operators, the change provides immediate relief from federal tax penalties, while simultaneously requiring adherence to pharmaceutical regulations that are currently used for prescription drugs. Rescheduling creates a dual-track legal reality, where a company's federal compliance depends entirely on how it categorizes its products and its customers. The new Schedule 3 status includes two specific categories: FDA-approved drugs like Epidiolex, and marijuana products covered by a state medical license. We can use this sorting matrix to see how the federal government now distinguishes between legal and illegal cannabis. Any product sold to a patient under a state medical license passes the filter and enters the Schedule 3 bucket. Cannabis sold for recreational use fails the test. It remains in Schedule 1, alongside heroin and LSD. Synthetics like Delta-10 also bounce back into the red bucket. They do not receive the protections of the DOJ order. This creates a situation where the exact same biological material is treated as two different substances based on the paperwork attached to the sale. For a corporate entity, maintaining this distinction is the only way to access federal financial benefits without risking prosecution. Historically, the Internal Revenue Service has controlled the profitability of the cannabis industry through Section 280E. This P&L statement illustrates the rule. Any business trafficking in Schedule 1 or 2 substances can only deduct the cost of goods sold. This means rent, payroll, and marketing are not deductible. The resulting tax liability frequently exceeds actual cash flow. Because state-licensed medical marijuana is no longer on Schedule 1, Section 280E no longer applies. For the first time, medical operators can deduct their full operating costs, significantly increasing their after-tax profit margins. This shift allows medical businesses to retain capital that was previously paid to the federal government as non-deductible tax. However, this tax relief requires vertically integrated companies to isolate their medical and recreational operations for federal auditors. The IRS requires a dual-track accounting system that separates the finances of a Schedule 3 medical business from a Schedule 1 recreational one. Shared overhead, like electricity, must be apportioned based on square footage or labor hours for each side. Companies must justify these calculations, as federal agencies will verify Schedule 1 activities aren't subsidized by medical deductions. This creates a significant audit risk. Any error in the mathematical split can lead to the disqualification of all medical tax deductions. While the tax benefits are clear, Schedule 3 does not allow cannabis products to cross state lines. Federal medical recognition activates FDA jurisdiction under the Food, Drug, and Cosmetic Act. This diagram contrasts state retail with the federal pharmaceutical chain. A Schedule 3 drug requires FDA approval, registered pharmacies, and a prescription. But state-licensed facilities lack certification for federal good manufacturing practices, creating a compliance gap prohibiting federal entry. Because state medical marijuana has not completed the multi-year FDA drug approval process, transporting these products across state lines remains a federal crime. Schedule 3 creates federal checkpoints. Operators must decide to remain in isolated state markets or invest in the infrastructure required to meet federal drug standards. This reclassification also changes the liability for corporate human resources departments. Millions of employees now hold medical certifications that carry federal recognition, complicating how companies handle positive drug tests. A major exception exists for safety-sensitive roles, regulated by the Department of Transportation. Under FMCSA rules, a driver cannot use medication that causes impairment, even with a Schedule 3 prescription, unless a certified medical examiner provides specific approval. HR policies must now move away from blanket dismissals. They require case-by-case evaluations that balance federal safety mandates with the legal status of medical marijuana. Federal agencies are transitioning from a policy of enforcement discretion to to one of direct, standardized oversight of medical products. Corporate entities must now prioritize dual-track accounting and prepare their facilities for eventual federal manufacturing audits. The DOJ order represents a transition away from the state-siloed model and toward a standardized pharmaceutical framework for the entire medical cannabis industry.